Hey friends, welcome back to another chapter of Charlotte's Web. Today we're going to read chapter 7. But before we get started with chapter 7, we have to remember what happened in chapter 6. If you recall, chapter 6 was titled Summer Days, and we learned that in the middle of the summer in July that it was a pretty calm and peaceful time. The days were very long, it was warm outside, and there was lots to do on the farm. We also learned that the goose had hatched her eggs and there were 7 goslings. Even though she had 8 eggs, only 7 of them hatched. One of them was a dud. And we learned that Templeton, the rat, he decided he wanted to keep that rotten egg, so he rolled it away and put it in his home under Wilbur's trough. Today's chapter, chapter 7, is called Bad News. It's a very short chapter, but before we begin, I want you to try to infer, what do you think is going to happen in a chapter called Bad News? Think about that and say, I infer that, I infer that something bad might happen on the farm and somebody is going to be told something that they are not going to like. Think about it. Do you remember when we were waiting and waiting and waiting to hear if we were going to go back to school? And then on that one day, the governor said, I'm sorry, but school will be canceled for the rest of the year so we can stay safe and stay healthy. That was some bad news. And you might have had a strong feeling or reaction to that bad news. I want you to think about how you felt when you heard that news. When we read today's chapter, one of our characters in this story is going to hear some bad news, and he's going to have a very strong reaction to that news. It might remind you about how you felt when you heard bad news before. All right, let's begin. Chapter 7, Bad News. Wilbur liked Charlotte better and better each day. Her campaign against insects seemed sensible and useful. Hardly anybody around the farm had a good word to say for a fly. Flies spent their time pestering others. The cows hated them, the horses detested them, the sheep loathed them. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were always complaining about them and putting up screens. Wilbur admired the way Charlotte managed. He was particularly glad that she always put her victims to sleep before eating it. It's really thoughtful of you to do that, Charlotte, he said. Yes, she replied in her sweet musical voice. I always give them an anesthetic so they won't feel pain. It's a little service I throw in. As the days went by, Wilbur grew and grew. He ate 3 big meals a day. He spent long hours lying on his side, half asleep, dreaming pleasant dreams. He enjoyed good health, and he gained a lot of weight. One afternoon, when Fern was sitting on her stool, the oldest sheep walked into the barn and stopped to pay a call on Wilbur. Hello, she said. Seems to me you're putting on weight. Yes, I guess I am, replied Wilbur. At my age, it's a good idea to just keep gaining. Just the same, I don't envy you, said the old sheep. You know why they're fattening you up, don't you? No, said Wilbur. Well, I don't like to spread bad news, said the sheep, but they're fattening you up because they're going to kill you, that's why. They're going to do what? Screamed Wilbur. Fern grew rigid on her stool. Kill you, turn you into smoked bacon and ham, continued the old sheep. Almost all young pigs get murdered by the farmer as soon as the real cold weather sets in. There's a regular conspiracy around here to kill you at Christmas time. Everybody is in on the plot. Lurvy, Zuckerman, even John Arable. Mr. Arable, sobbed Wilbur. Fern's father? Certainly. When a pig is to be butchered, everybody helps. I'm an old sheep, and I see the same thing, same old business, year after year. Arable arrives with his 22, shoots the... Stop! Screamed Wilbur. I don't want to die. Somebody save me! Save me! Fern was just about to jump up when a voice was heard. Be quiet, Wilbur, said Charlotte, who had been listening to this awful conversation. I can't be quiet, screamed Wilbur, racing up and down. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to die. Is it true what the old sheep says, Charlotte? Is it true that they're going to kill me when the cold weather comes? Well, said the spider, plucking thoughtfully at her web, the old sheep has been around this barn a long time. She has seen many a spring pig come and go. If she says they plan to kill you, I'm sure it's true. It's also the dirtiest trick I ever heard of. What people don't think of. Wilbur burst into tears. I don't want to die, he moaned. I want to stay alive, right here in my comfortable manure pile with all my friends. I want to breathe the beautiful air and lie on the beautiful sun. You're certainly making a beautiful noise, snapped the old sheep. I don't want to die, screamed Wilbur, throwing himself onto the ground. You shall not die, said Charlotte briskly. What? Really? Cried Wilbur. Who's going to save me? I am, said Charlotte. How? Asked Wilbur. That remains to be seen, but I am going to save you, and I want you to quiet down immediately. You're carrying on in a childish way. Stop your crying. I can't stand hysterics. And that is the end of the chapter. It's a short chapter today. Now, at the end of the chapter, Charlotte promised Wilbur that she would save him, from the bad news he heard today. We know that that's what happens to pigs. If you've ever eaten bacon or ham or pork chops or sausage, we know that pigs are raised to be eaten by humans. I know it sounds sad in this story because we really like Wilbur, but that's what happens in the real world. Charlotte, this tiny little spider, told Wilbur that she would save him. I wonder, what is she going to do to save Wilbur? If you've read this story before or heard it, you might remember. But if not, I want you to infer. I infer that Charlotte will... Think about that. And next time, we will read chapter 8, which is titled A Talk at Home. I wonder if they're going to talk about it and come up with a plan. See you next time.